My name is Raja Murini.
Hello, Ubuntu.
My name is Selma Seita.
I'm from Pretoria, South Africa.
Ababa, Ethiopia.
I am from Portugal.
I'm from Zimbabwe.
Bujumbura.
And I'm from Jordan.
I'm from Libya.
From Albania.
I'm from Nigeria.
Malaysia.
Armenia.
It's time to receive the greetings from the Ubuntu Global Network, from a very special person, from a kind soul, from Professor John Volmink, born in Cape Town, with a PhD in mathematics education. He has dedicated himself to managing South African NGOs involved in the progress of education. And he also had a major role in leading post-apartheid education reform in South Africa. He is also the president of the Ubuntu Global Network, and he is here with us to inspire and to give us a global Ubuntu perspective. So with us, Professor John Volmink, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Maria, and greetings to everyone. I just get a special inspiration when I see everyone's face. It's a special moment for me. I don't get this opportunity very often, but there's something about the Ubuntu network that when I see you, there is a heart-to-heart connection, which is really wonderful and really reassuring. I also want to thank His Excellency President Ramos Horta for that wonderful address covering such a wide area. And we know he's the inspiration behind many of the things that we do in Ubuntu. I want to just apologize. I'm sitting in South Africa, I'm sitting in Cape Town, and suddenly, for the first time this year, and probably for most of last year, a thunderstorm has broken out. So if you don't hear me clearly, just raise your hands and I'll see if I can close windows. But there's a big thunderstorm going. I want to just begin by saying that this is an opportunity to say that we as mankind, humankind, we've allowed many issues to divide us. And things such as ideology, things such as culture, religion, gender, race, and class, and even our responses to the pandemics, all of those things have divided us. And I'm sure you will agree that the world is not a happy place at present. It's not happy because we are not together. The world is not together. In fact, it is a sad world, one in which leadership has failed us. I believe leadership has failed us, globally and locally. So today, we have come together because of our common belief that we need peace. We need peace. The world is going through a lot of brokenness. And there's a clarion call for people to create relationships and build peace. And so the theme of Ubuntu United Nations this year, today, starting today, is living together in peace. And the Ubuntu United Nations is born out of a belief that we need a new kind of leadership in this world. We can't continue with the same old. Leadership that is driven by a new ethic, namely an ethic of care. Very seldom do I hear any leaders at whatever level speak about caring, because caring is a choice. And so caring brings hope and healing for a better world. So given the state of our world, we need leaders who can help us overcome obstacles. There are many obstacles. And not ignore those obstacles or pretend they don't exist. And help us to move forward, not get stuck. And to realize that we are one human family, as we know, we believe in Ubuntu. We are all branches of the same tree. So what kind of leadership do we need? We need leadership which will help us never to lose hope. Leaders must provide hope and a belief that it is possible for us to live together in peace. Now, I just want to deviate for a moment, and I hope you forgive me. I'm sitting, I live in South Africa. I was born here, not far from where I'm sitting. And I was born and grew up under apartheid. Apartheid is 1 year older than what I am. And I've witnessed firsthand the horrors of the system of apartheid. It was a very cruel system. And it was driven by violence and hatred. It was scary. And today, the 27th of April, so happens that it's a day that marks the 30th anniversary of our freedom. Today. In other words, today, 30 years ago, both Nelson Mandela and I, and millions of other South Africans, cast our votes for the first time. Until then, I've never voted. I was not allowed to vote. I had a PhD from a university, Ivy League university. I was not allowed to vote because of the color of my skin. And I could not choose where I want to live. So Nelson Mandela stepped into a world that was highly divided. And most people believe that the day will never come when we will participate as South Africans in the choices that affect our lives, let alone voting in peace. I stood in the line with my wife and my children, and we cast vote in peace. But it was the leadership of Nelson Mandela that made it possible. I want to, therefore, point out that he instilled hope and famously said, and this quote I like, "It always seems impossible until it's done." It always seems impossible. You say, no, it's not possible. It's absolutely not possible. Well, that's how I thought. And I myself, to my shame, had thought of perpetrating violence myself for reasons that I won't go into now. And Mandela disabused me of that view and gave me hope. And so our interim constitution, which was written under his weight, his term, says, and I just want to quote this, because this is the first time you will hear the word Ubuntu, because in the Nelson Mandela reign, Ubuntu played a very important role. And he believes that if it was not for Ubuntu, a lot of things would not have happened. the interim constitution says, this constitution provides a historic bridge between the past of a deeply divided society, characterized by strife and conflict and untold suffering and injustice, and a future founded on the recognition of human rights, democracy, and peaceful coexistence, and development opportunities for all, irrespective of color and race and religion. The pursuit of national unity, the well-being of all South Africans, he says, the Constitution says, require reconciliation between the people of South Africa and the reconstruction of society at the same time. And here comes the word Ubuntu. It says, the adoption of this constitution lays the secure foundation for the people of South Africa to transcend the divisions and strife of the past, which generated gross violations of human rights. And these can now be addressed on the basis that there is a need for understanding, but not for vengeance. I want to repeat that. There's a need for understanding, but not for vengeance. And it says a need for reparation, but not for retaliation. A need for Ubuntu, but not for victimization. So I salute again Nelson Mandela. I salute him for inspiring these lofty ideals. And many people thought peace in South Africa unattainable, impossible. It's the worst place in the world. And Nelson Mandela gave us hope and made us understand that it is possible. Many of us expected blood flowing in our streets in 1994. We thought that when we have the opportunity, there will be vengeance and people will be killed. But instead, we are working together across barriers to make the country work. We're not perfect. We're far from it. We have a long way to go, but we are working together as one nation, which never was thought possible. Instead of encouraging vengeance, when Mandela came out of prison, he could have said whatever he wanted to say, and we would have done that. And instead of encouraging vengeance, he worked so hard as a peacemaker and a bridge builder to bring understanding. And the alternative would have been too horrible to even think about. So bridge builders, I want to say, bridge builders bring into community people who are disconnected from each other, who are alienated from each other. And bridge builders forge ties that cut across borders, cuts across cultures, cuts across religions. Because bridge builders is rooted in the fundamental human values underpinning Ubuntu, which is interconnectedness and interdependency. So those are the two Ubuntu concepts that are very, very important. I am connected to you, but I'm also dependent on you. I cannot be human alone. I need you. I need all of you. And you need me. We can't be happy alone. I cannot be sad alone. Bridge building is a requirement for peacemaking. So when we talk about peace, we have to start with bridge building. And it's highly dependent, bridge building, on strong leadership. But particularly when I say strong, I mean servant leadership. So I want to say just a few things as I come to a close. The Ubuntu United Nations have emerged from a conviction that the world needs young leaders committed to the ethics of care. And bridge building is also one of their commitments, and servant leadership. And they must understand those concepts, and they must be prepared to accept and follow the Ubuntu ethic. So in keeping with the aims of the United Nations, it's an intergeneration, as President Ramos has said, it's an intergenerational movement that promotes the legacy of great leaders like Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu and others, who have shown that you cannot presume to influence others unless you have changed yourself. And Mahatma Gandhi also said that. And so we hope that the Ubuntu United Nations will inspire all of you as participants to commit to social justice, to commit to uphold human rights wherever it is violated, and promote sustainable development. Peace is not just the absence of violence, says somebody, a colleague at the University of Cape Town. Peace is not just the absence of violence, but the presence of social solidarity. The Ubuntu United Nations initiative will promote these values and aims to achieve these objectives. And so, building on the Ubuntu pillars that some of us know about: self-knowledge, self-confidence, empathy, resilience, and service, we have a new way of dealing with problems. We have a new way of facing challenges and how to inspire others. And so, as I close, I say, I firmly believe that young leaders sharing a commitment to an Ubuntu ethic of care and bridge building and servant leadership will make a huge difference in this world. By sharing also and collaborating and getting together and sharing how we deal with obstacles to build resilience and how to discover our courage, we inspire each other. And I close with the words of Nelson Mandela when he said, and this is a challenge to each one of us. Nelson Mandela said, when the history of our time is written, will we be remembered as that generation that turned its back on a time of global crisis, or as a generation that did the right thing? On which side do we want to be? Do I want to turn my back on the problems in this world? Or do I want to do the right thing? And so it's a wonderful privilege to have been here. And I want to thank the chairperson of the United Nations, Ramos Horta, the president of East Timor. But I would also like to acknowledge the leadership of a visionary leader, Rui Marx, and Rui Nunes, and Pedro Santos, and the whole IPAF team. Thank you very much. All the very best to you.